You brought up his name earlier. Now we bring him on. A great friend of ours and a great writer over there at Horns 24/7. Our man, Jeff Howe, joining us now on Texas Sports Unfiltered. What's up, Jeff?
What's going on, guys? Can you hear me? Everything good?
Everything is good, Jeff. And
Nice.
people are on me about needing a couple of load management days early in this tilt. I think if we can get to the point where I can get my load management days early, then the people on the YouTube channel will understand when I have disappeared for a day or two that, it's just load management for this guy. That's all.
When you're talking about load management, as long as we're not talking about making baked potatoes, we can work with that.
Yeah, we'll get to that too.
Hey, Buck, actually in my office, I don't know if you can see it, but over my shoulder, that Ricky Williams autographed football that people see in my office. That was a birthday present from you, Buck, when we did the post-game show together as a thank you. So
very nice.
But I keep that around.
We had a wonderful conversation at the beginning of the week with Ricky, and he has grown up. He is a grown man now. He's a different cat, a dad, a grandfather now, a grandpa Ricky. That's hard to believe. It really is.
I got to spend some time with him the weekend that they did the statue unveiling. Gosh, that was about 10, 11 years ago now. And I came away from that thinking, this guy's got to be one of the most misunderstood guys ever. So I know people had a general perception of Ricky, but when you really sit down and talk to him, and not just about football, talk to him about life.
Oh yeah,
he's an interesting cat. And Bucky, I'll say that about guys that I've talked to that were in your running back room. I've done radio with Wayne McGarity. I've hung out with Priest Holmes. You coach some guys that are just straight up just special dudes.
Yeah, I mean, special guys outside of football, really, really. But Ricky is still crazy. So, I mean, looking at the stars and all that stuff, come on, man.
Hey, speaking of your guys, before we get down to business, did you and Wayne McGarity ever get that tape situation figured out?
No, he did not. No, he never gave me back my videotape, one of the greatest tapes of all time. So, no, he still has that. That's why I got rid of him out of the running back room. Now that's why he became a fantastic wide receiver and played for the Dallas Cowboys at wide receiver. By the way, I helped make his career because he wasn't going to get that done as a running back. Our discussions about moving on was perfect for him.
I would hope he's converted to digital and gone away from VHS by this point. So
yeah, it was on VHS, wasn't it?
Those are his words, not mine.
Jeff Howe from Horns 24/7 joining us. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Jeff Howe 247. Jeff, you talk about special talents. Colin Simmons, we'll start there before we get to fall camp and some of the current guys on the 40 acres right now. But a big-time commitment yesterday for Texas. Colin Simmons, the #1 edge rusher in the country, according to the 24/7 composite rankings, the #1 player in the state, according to those same rankings. Big-time win for Steve Sarkisian against the likes of LSU and Miami.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what he brings to the table, BK. I know you guys were talking about it yesterday. I mean, you can pop on the tape and see what he brings to the table. He's 6'3", 225. Just a really rare ability to convert speed to power. His ball get off is elite. The staff recruited him with the idea that he'll start out at the buck end position. That's that spot that Ethan Burke is holding down right now. Jamon Tapp getting some work there. That's where Colton Vossick's working. If you think about the guys that PK has had at that buck end position, the two guys that really stand out, and he's had some good players there. DeMarcus Lawrence played that position for him at Boise. And then Joe Tryon was a first-round pick out of Washington by Tampa Bay a couple of years ago. So you're looking for a guy in that 250-pound area, 6'3", 6'4", really twitchy, can bend the edge and get after the quarterback. That's what they want to recruit Colin Simmons as. But, again, in the recruiting pitch, the staff kind of told him, look, you might end up playing that jack linebacker position depending on where his body goes. So he could be a 260, 265-pound guy. Who knows? But, yeah, I was trying to think about it. And Texas, even in the lean years, they haven't had a problem producing NFL caliber edge guys, but they haven't had a guy get on campus this ready to play right out of the gate since Jackson Jeffcoat. And you think about Jackson Jeffcoat got snaps as a true freshman. Alex Okafor was still in that room. Sam Acho was still in that room. Keenan Robinson was playing some buck end at the time for Will Muschamp. So Jeffcoat got in at a really deep rotation. I think the same thing is going to be true with Colin Simmons. He's a guy that's going to be really hard to keep off the field, and a guy that, when you look at this roster, building it for the SEC, BK, this was really the last piece they were missing. I know you study the NFL draft pretty intensively. for really going back and doing some deep dives around the draft, looking at Bijan and kind of where the running backs were, I got hung up on premium positions, the quarterback, offensive tackles, wide receivers, corners, and edge guys. And then just looking at like the last time, like when's the last time Texas had first round guys at premium positions? Like quarterback, it was 2006 with Vince Young. Offensive tackle was 2002 with Mike Williams. Corner, Texas hasn't had a first round corner since Aaron Ross in 2007. Wide receiver, you're talking about Roy Williams in 2004. And then Brian Arakpo in 2009 was the last first round edge guy you had. So you take all that into consideration. I think the fact that you look at those other positions, and whether it's Quinn Ewers, Kelvin Banks, Xavier Worthy, Jonte Cook, Terrence Brooks, Sark has recruited guys that fit that mold of first-round caliber guys at premium positions. This is the one that they haven't had just in terms of an instant impact guy that you see a legitimate first-round ceiling for 3-4 years down the road.
When I look at Collins, when I look at his body type, Jeff, what I see is his lower body, that hip area is just unbelievable. He really is loose in there where he can really maneuver himself around bigger guys outside. But because up top, I expect for him in high school, he dominates guys. He hadn't even been, inundated in what it's like to be really into that weight room and stuff. He's just got that natural strength that he's going to beat a high school kid. He's going to beat him badly with his upper body strength. But what's really natural is his lower body kind of, maneuverability. His flexibility down below is incredible, and how he can angle himself.
Yeah, it's interesting, Buck, when you think about it. I think when a lot of people think about strength in high school guys, I think, okay, how much does a guy bench? But, you think back, Bucky, recruiting offensive linemen, like how many really good offensive tackles and edge guys, were really good shot put throwers in high school, really good discus throwers. That gives you an idea of what kind of hip torque he's got. The flexibility, explosion in that hip, in your hips, and in your core. Core explosion, something I don't really know a whole lot about, but you see it. Like Brian Robinson's a perfect example, right? Brian Robinson was a Big 12 shot put champion, played 12, 13 years in the NFL. So hip flexibility is really important. I think that's where some of that natural strength that Colin Simmons has. It's not so much from just getting bulked up in the weight room. It's just that natural explosiveness he's got in his hips and in his core that allows him to really control guys at the line of scrimmage.
Jeff, I've heard a lot of rumors about Colin Simmons' commitment, and it sort of feels like this thing really went down to the last second. And he kind of said it yesterday. He's like, I made my decision this morning. Was it like that? Did Colin Simmons give any of the coaching staffs any inclination about what his decision was going to be? Or did Sark and Brian Kelly and Mario Cristobal all find out at the same time we did yesterday?
It's not 100% confirmed. My guy Mike Roach was at Duncanville yesterday, and Mike's as close to this recruitment as anybody, and he's still not 100% sure which staff knew what and who was told. But he's come to the conclusion, he said it's most likely that those coaches found out where he was going when the rest of us did. I know he was still talking to, as of, what would that have been, Wednesday night, was still talking to the Miami staff, still talking to the LSU staff, obviously talking to the Texas staff. And Bucky, I caught some of what you were saying this morning about Sark. At the end of the day, for he and his mom, Sark's involvement in this recruitment was one of the things that really put it over the top. And I think that speaks a lot of Sark. Head coaches, I've seen head coaches at Texas handle recruiting different. Some guys want to be involved, don't mind getting involved. Some guys just want to hang back and let the assistants do it and then come in at the end and be the closer. Sark wants to be involved with, whether you're an elite guy or not, he wants to be involved from start to finish. He'll tell you, like, he doesn't want, a GA or somebody in the office, so a recruiting assistant, sending like a form text to recruits. Like, he wants to be the guy up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and texting recruits and making sure that they know it's coming from him. And he just likes getting, doing that dirty work in recruitment like he was when he was an assistant coach. I think once you become a head coach, you got to try to find little things here and there that, take you back to your roots as an assistant and kind of why you love getting into coaching in the first place. I think for Sark, that's recruiting. He wants to dive head first into it. And this is one of those recruitments, like a couple that they've had now, that his involvement in it, his persistence in it, his effort, and just the genuineness, just him being genuine, I think that really helped Texas at the end with Colin Simmons. But no, you're right, BK. It was so close. And I think the fact that it was close, you're going to have to – this is what I would call an ink is dry recruitment. You got to recruit this guy until the ink is dry, like he's uncommitted, because I guarantee you Brian Kelly, now they've got it in with, getting Caden Durham, the Duncanville running back yesterday. Miami's not going to stop. So, and all those other schools that were in on him, they're not going to stop either. So, we're definitely going to have to recruit Colin Simmons like he's still on the market. But as long as Sark stays involved and that involvement is still there, which I have no reason to believe it won't, I think Texas has a really good shot to hold on to him.
And dude, some kids just like to be recruited until the very end. They want to know just how much you care about them up until the very end, until it's time to put your name on the dotted line. They don't want to know for 1 second that you've lost interest for a day, 24 hours. That's just the way they roll. They're going to want you to recruit them to the end. Some kids are like, well, I told you I'm coming. Everything's good. I know you already splashed everything on me. I don't need any more aftershave. I'm good. But some kids are just like, don't stop, or somebody else is going to kind of smooth right in there.
Bucky, don't you? I bet you wish probably things were kind of like they were back in your day. You didn't have so many ways to get to kids. Like you go old school, like Randy Rogers telling Leonard Davis, "Hey, look, take the phone off the receiver and just put it in the dresser drawer and don't answer the phone tonight." Go back to the way stuff used to be. But no, I think when you got a coach like Sark that understands how to communicate to kids, and look, man, you can say what you want about 17, 18-year-old kids. They're exposed to so much now. With technology and social media, they're not stupid, and they know when you're being genuine and when you're blowing, when you're just you're full of hot air. And I think a lot of the recruits that you talk to, especially the ones that end up coming to Texas, even some of the guys that don't, they'll tell you, man, Sark usually does the best job recruiting them of any head coach that's involved in the recruitment.
Yeah. All right. On to the current team, Jeff. Jeff Howe, Horns 24/7, joining us here on Texas Sports Unfiltered for the first time, but hopefully not the last time. On to the current Texas Longhorns roster. We'll start with the quarterback. Bucky and I were just talking about Quinn Ewers before you hopped on. We can obviously get to some of the other position battles and some of your other big storylines that you've been keeping an eye on during fall camp, but everyone wants to talk quarterback all of the time. What have you seen from Quinn Ewers in fall camp that makes you feel like this year can be a big step up for him versus what we saw in 2022?
Yeah, we've gotten a chance to get a couple open windows to practice. For me, it's just the confidence that he's carrying with it, that he's walking with, the way he's carrying himself, just that comfort level that he's got right now. I think, you can, BK, we've learned the hard way not to put too much stock into bowl games and what they mean. Yeah. But I think you look at the way he finished that bowl game, and then I think that was a really positive note for him to end what was obviously an up and down year for him. And I think that confidence combined with the fact that I think a lot of people close to him told him, look, if you want to hit your ceiling, if you want to be a guy that's leading this program to championships, gets in that position, gets in a Heisman conversation, get yourself in a position to be a first-round draft pick, you're going to have to start taking this thing a lot more serious and putting in a lot more work. And I really do think Quinn's taking that to heart, whether it's been, the nutrition, whether it's been the film study, whether it's been getting in extra work with his guys after practice, whether it's been stepping up as a vocal leader. And I think, Bucky, you as a coach know this, man, you're vocal leaders. It's really hard to be a vocal leader when you're not a guy that's putting forth 100% effort and leading the way. And I think the best story I heard about Quinn in the offseason was toward the end of summer conditioning. They were running, I think it was gassers they were running, and Torrey Beckham had them do 10. And everybody's after the 10th one, everybody's done. And Quinn steps up and says, hey, coach, we've got 12 games this year. How about 2 more? And nobody complained. Everybody just got back on the line and ran them. Like I know that might sound a little rah-rah, but that's the kind of stuff you want to see from your quarterback. And we know he's got the goods to play at a high level. I've never been concerned about that with Quinn. It's always been, the other stuff. Can he put in the film study? Is he willing to do the little things that the really good ones around here have done to be great? And I feel like he has. And I think he's got a really good chance to start to trend toward that ceiling that I think we all think he's got. Well,
he has to have the ability for people to follow him. They can't be like, yeah, maybe this time. I don't know if I really want to follow him. He's not quite there. It sounds like he's getting to the point where they're going to follow him, but they'll understand there are going to be some down times, but they trust in him enough that he's going to bring them to the top, which is that, because it's not always rosy for the quarterback. He'll have his downtime, but it sounds like he's starting to build that camaraderie where those guys will have enough faith in him that he'll bounce right back. If he throws an interception, he'll be bounced right back and throw 3 touchdown passes. Or he'll make the right decision and the right call to get us a first down. Those are the little things that build up for a quarterback that everybody starts to trust. Let me ask you about C.J. Baxter and his ability. We were talking about him and not taking that. There'll be that time where he'll take that hit, because it's going to come. And, he'll get them in practice, but in the game, that's when you really know it's big-time football. And I said it could come against Rice. It could come against Alabama. You want it to come early. You don't want it to come late. But when I watched him in the spring, Jeff, he just looked like a tall, upright kid that still was getting away with what he got away with in high school because he never had to take those hits. He was always bigger than everybody else. He's a big, strong, physical kid that it's not a 5'9", 160-pound running back. He's always been a kind of a big kid. But how's everything going with him? Do you see him getting to that point, game 2 or 3 or 4? I mean, to me, he was the number 1 running back in the country, which means it shouldn't get to game 6 before he really starts to feel his way around college football as that running back. Should be probably the first 2 games, I would think.
Yeah, I think he's in, and you haven't coached that position, Bucky. You know this. That to me is the one position where a true freshman's more ready to step in and play than any other position on the field. Because at some point, it's just, look, get the ball and your natural instincts just kind of take over. And the guys that are just really good natural runners of the football can do that. As far as the physicality goes, the fact that he has played some DB, he's got a safety background. I mean, talking to people that scouted him in the Orlando area, that's kind of the position that everybody thought he was going to play coming up was he was going to be a safety. So the physicality part, the fact that he doesn't mind playing to contact, that part doesn't concern me. We've seen, whether even the really good running backs around here, like, a Malcolm Brown and Deontay Foreman, you go back, even Bijan, you go back early in their career, you can find that moment where they got thumped for the first time and got that real for Bijan, it was that, when he got scorpioned and trying to hurdle a guy in Lubbock, which I still don't know how he got through.
I don't either.
Yeah, BK, that was like, it's like, look, you're fine. It's kind of like that scene in Major League where, Willie Mays Hayes is coming off. He's like, great catch, Hayes. Never effing do it again. Like, just, thank goodness you're all right. Just don't do it again. But now he'll get it taken care of. Buck, I think the plan and what the staff hopes for, at least early, is he and Jonathan Brooks are going to be a really good 1-2 punch. And then you'll sprinkle in, Keelan Robinson. Jaden Blue is having a kind of camp where he's trying to force the staff's hand to get him some carries. But then you'll sprinkle in, Keelan Robinson and your other guys. And they've got enough versatile pieces on the outside, especially with a guy like Jordan Whittington, that you can put him in the backfield, motion him around. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Sark does with him, if you can do a lot more things with him to get him the football in a number of different ways. But, I think to your point about C.J. Baxter, I think he'll be right there with Jonathan Brooks and being a nice 1-2 punch. I think that's what the staff hopes happens this year.
Yeah, Jeff, kind of want to give you the floor here. What's a storyline, maybe a position battle, just something that's caught your eye that you've been paying attention to and will continue to pay attention to throughout fall camp?
Yeah, I'll give you one on each side of the ball, BK. For me, on the offense, I think it's how's it going to shake out with this interior offensive line, and then what's that going to look like? Cole Hudson's working some center. I think you need somebody at the in a perfect world that can push Jake Majors, but backup center is one of those positions you never worry about it until something happens to your starting center, and then everybody's running for a program in game 3. Like, oh crap, who's our backup center? Anybody got a depth chart around? Like, yeah, you don't worry about it until you need it. So, if it's Cole Hudson, if it's Connor Robertson, the young kid from Westlake, whoever it is, I think developing a backup center that you trust to come in and play. Kyle Flood typically likes 3 guys that he trusts to snap, just so you don't get in a situation where you end up in a worst case scenario, you end up with a guy playing center that's never snapped before. But Cole Hudson working center really intrigues me because DJ Campbell's going to get some reps, whether he's starting or not. He's going to get some significant snaps early in the season. I'd like to think, after the Alabama game, whatever that looks like for those interior guys, I think you'll maybe see that thing get a little bit more solidified after week 2 going into that 3rd game. So interior offensive line, how that shakes out. And then on defense, I know everybody's intrigued by, that Buck linebacker that Ethan Burke's leading that competition and who's going to replace DeMarvion Overshown at that weak side linebacker. Jalen Catalon's healthy, which is the best thing you can say about him right now. To me, it's can Terrence Brooks win that field corner job? Because if Terrence Brooks wins that field corner job, if you're Terry Joseph and Pete Kwiatkowski, you don't have to shuffle pieces around. Like, think about it. If Terrence Brooks isn't good enough to be a bona fide starter, like if he's not good enough to where you say, we'll just put him at field corner and not worry about it, then you're like, okay, now you rotate in like a Gavin Holmes or Malik Muhammad, and not that those guys aren't capable, but then you get in a situation like, okay, do we need to move Jahdae Barron to corner to get the most out of that position? So then now you're taking away from the star position. Okay, who's our next best nickel? Is it Gavin Holmes? Is it Austin Jordan? Is it Jalen Gilbo? So I just think your secondary has a much higher ceiling if Terrence Brooks, a 6 foot 200-pound corner with potentially elite man coverage skills, if he can be your field side corner, the bookend it with Ryan Watts on the boundary, you can have one of, if not the best cornerback tandem in the Big 12 with those two guys. And if not, then I think you're just going to kind of be robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to say, on the back end, trying to figure out what works best in terms of personnel. So the interior line and then Terrence Brooks winning that field corner job for me are the two things I'll really be looking. Those are two things that have caught my eye. That's what I want to hear about coming out of the scrimmage tomorrow.
Now, pressure-wise, I mean, Collins is not here. He's not going to be on the field here. Pressure-wise, can this team pressure any of the quarterbacks in the Big 12? We all worry about that. We've been worrying about that for years. I mean, can they? First of all, can they hold the perimeter? Because there have been teams that just say, "Oh, it's 3rd and 6. Let's just run outside. We'll get outside and get our 6 yards. We'll get a first down. We only have to throw the ball. We'll run the ball around the perimeter because they won't be able to hold the fort there." Can this group? Do you feel good about them holding the perimeter? First of all, I'm not worried about pass rush. I'm worried about teams running against you.
I think you go back to 2021. I think my high school defense in 2001 in Florence, Texas, America was better at holding the edge than the 2021 Texas defense. I mean, that was some of the worst edge play I've ever seen. And, you appreciate those guys' efforts, but teams – I'm trying to think because I crunched the numbers. I think runs that hit from the C gap and out, teams were averaging about 7 yards a carry against Texas in 2021. I mean, it was just atrocious. And they got much better last year.
Yes.
And I think a lot of that, I think you look at it this year, I think with the emergence of Barron Sorrell and the body types and now some of the experience that you've got, Jere Bledsoe, Bucky, he's a really intriguing guy. You talk to guys in the program, he might be the best athlete in that edge room. What are you going to do with him? Can you kick him inside on certain downs? Can he be, more of an every down player? And depending on if you're playing a team that runs heavier personnel like a K-State, maybe like an Alabama. I keep hearing Alabama's going to get the tight ends more involved, and with Tommy Reese calling the plays, maybe play a little bit more throwback football. With Mike Bloomgren and Rice, you're going to see, 22 personnel and full house backfields and things that Mike Bloomgren likes to run. So maybe you'll see Jere Bledsoe against some heavier offenses. But I feel confident in this team being able to hold the edge. I think just because with PK scheme, I think this defense the players just understand things like gap integrity and run fits a lot better than they did 2 years ago. So holding the edge, I don't worry about that near as much as I did 2 years ago, where it was a week-to-week proposition, just wondering what you were going to get.
Jeff, we don't want to pigeonhole you into only Longhorn conversation. I know you're a big sports fan, and I know you're a big Dallas Mavericks fan. Early reports out there are that the Mavs will be playing Victor Wembanyama in the San Antonio Spurs to open up the NBA season this year. I know you like the Mavs. I also know how you feel about the Spurs.
Yeah.
What do you make of Luka v. Wemby Game 1 this year?
Oh yeah, my anus just bleeds for the Spurs fans that got a whole 3 years of the doldrums. Come on, you're like Packers fans with quarterbacks, right? I don't want to hear bitching about Jordan Love. Dude, you had 30 years of Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Come on, you didn't have Ryan Leaf and Anthony Wright starting games for you in the middle. So just give me a break. But no, I thought you were going to talk about the GOAT, Dirk, and his Hall of Fame induction. I thought that's where you were going as far as Mavs talk. But, like I said, I just bleed for Spurs fans that have to put up with a couple of years of anguish. But, no, I think the Mavs, BK, that's going to be a fun – that's always a fun little matchup, them playing the Spurs. But, you look at some of the moves they made, bringing Kyrie back. Now you get a full season of the Kyrie Irving experience, which – I talk about a week-to-week proposition. That's an hour-to-hour proposition when you're talking about Kyrie Irving in your locker room. So looking forward to another season of Mavs basketball. Hopefully the Bally situation gets rectified so I can actually, watch more Mavs games this year other than the national games. But no, I definitely enjoyed poking the bear when it comes to Spurs fans, and especially, my hill that I'll die on, that Kevin Garnett's a better power forward all time than Tim Duncan. I would put him ahead. I may even put Dirk. I'll put Dirk ahead of Tim Duncan on a power forward ratings pyramid, or I forgot what. Oh, I think it was Bill Simmons on the Hall of Fame pyramid. Yeah, I'd put Dirk ahead of Tim Duncan. So I'm waiting. I'm looking forward to the angry feedback from Spurs fans you guys are going to get in the comments here in a minute.
You've already got one. Go Spurs, go.
There we go.
Coming from Anthony
Spurs,
right there.
Go.
How about no Spurs? No, that's how I roll.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Well, Jeff, before we let you go, man, we look, I'm a subscriber at Horns 24/7. I check out the content you guys are posting all of the time. You had a great conversation with an Alabama beat writer the other day, kind of giving the preview of what to expect when Texas goes to Tuscaloosa, but just the chance to promote Horns 24/7 and everything you guys have going on as we get closer to the start of the season.
Yeah, we've got the Longhorn Blitz podcast, which we've been doing that for over a decade now, so that's up and running. You know, our podcast feed, we've had some staff changes this summer, so we're getting some things worked out. And our staff, man, we lose good people. We keep hiring good people, man. You add Hank South and Jordan Scruggs covering recruiting. Eric Henry, I think, is going to do a really good job as a beat writer in this market. So all those guys have contributions right now. We're talking about things you've seen in camp, things you're looking for in the scrimmage. We actually have a staff roundtable posted this morning. Every staff member gives something that they're looking forward to seeing or hearing about coming out of the scrimmage, so you can go check that out. Yesterday was the 30-day mark until the Alabama game, so myself, Eric, and Chip Brown all had content pieces out, kind of early preview of the Alabama game. Plenty of Colin Simmons stuff, and we'll keep you updated, throughout the weekend. I've got some basketball content coming pretty soon. Had a half-hour sit-down with Rodney Terry recently. As a matter of fact, BK, could be a big day for RT. Cam Scott, shooting guard out of the state of South Carolina, makes his decision around 1 o'clock today. So that could be a really big deal for Texas getting Cam Scott. I know, talking to some people inside the program, they felt like had the Chris Beard situation not happened, Cam Scott would probably already be committed by now. But they've done a really good job of keeping themselves in the race. So we'll get you everything you need to know on the Cam Scott announcement. And just I don't know if I've ever had more fun being around a staff than I have right now with the group we've got at Horns 24/7. Just a really good group of people, hard workers, and looking forward to a really, really good football season. Bucky, we were talking about this. It's the time where you're working the kinks out and making sure you got your S together by July 1, 2024, when the conference change officially goes down.
Well, we're getting the kinks out this week because my load management, as of next week, is going to come into play. Because once I get rolling, once I get in about 7 days in a row, woo, man.
I'm looking forward to BK telling us that Bucky's taking like 3 days of vacation randomly during the week, and
he already missed the first 2 days. I should have fired him on day one. Who doesn't show up to their first day of work and keeps their job? Now he's talking about load management already.
The first day, Bucky. You don't need load management. You got one of those nice chairs from Relax the Back.
Yeah, I do. I'm sitting in it right now, Jeff. It is absolutely fabulous. It really, really is. Hey, listen. Tell me your expectations of this scrimmage. Are we going to go goal line? A little bit of everything?
Yeah, Sark typically does that. They'll run through some situational type stuff. That's how Sark likes to do his scrimmages. But I think we can all agree with this. Considering you go back to last year, that first scrimmage was when you lost Isaiah Nayer and Junior Angulau for the year. As long as we're not hearing about any injuries come Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, then I think we'll all just take whatever comes out of that and be happy with it. Hey, speaking of our former place of employment, Bucky, I know you probably left some nice Relax the Back chairs there. You don't have to worry about your chairs getting broken anymore. So there's that. You got that going for you. And BK, when are we getting the 30 for 30 on Deuce Gate?
Oh, wow! Soon,
yeah.
Hopefully, we gotta work on that at some point.
Deuce Gate needs its own 30 for 30.
Absolutely, man.
I forgot about that shit. Oh, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, that let me know that, man, Bucky in his old age, the sniffer doesn't work as well as it used to.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, what a time.
I left a chair there, Jeff. I left one there. It had one arm. It was a one-arm chair. Yeah. One of those fishermen on a Sunday must have taken it off and used it for a weight or something.
How did you not smell a dog turd for 4 hours of live radio, Buck?
It must have been a little dog because it was all hard and like Tootsie Rolls in the corner. And I was over there working out with my face.
Yeah, Bucky's on the ground like doing his ab roller and whatnot. And there's a Deuce sitting in the corner. Big old meaty chud from someone's dog just staring at him the whole time.
Good thing about this deal is I don't have to have 75 dogs around me at my house. All my dogs are outside right now. They're not up underneath the places where I sit and where I live. I'm not surrounded by dogs where I work right now. You know, that's all right for dog day, or bring a kid, or bring a hobo or a homeless person to work. I've done that before, and you can't count on them because they didn't show up. A homeless person didn't show up. I was very upset about that. But I don't have to bring a dog to work every day. I mean, some people have allergies and things like that, but where I was before, nobody kind of cared about that. So
BK,
it's all right now.
You guys going to make it a bit, bring a person experiencing homelessness to work day?
Oh, is that what they call it now?
That's what you got to say, Buck. It's you're experiencing homelessness.
Oh, that's the correct way to do it.
Yeah.
It's not a homeless person.
Yes, you're experiencing homelessness.
Well, what people have to understand, when I say the word hobo, remember, hobos worked. Hobos would jump on a train to go and find the next job. Hobo is not like a freeloader like some of these people we see on the streets. A hobo is a guy or a gal who will jump train to train and look for a job in cities. Hobos aren't bad people.
Doesn't
a worker. They're a little stick with that dog. You know, they had that little stick. You know,
is Trey still calling his fantasy football team? He's still rolling with the Tent City Hobos gimmick?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
So.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Jeff, you are the man. We really appreciate you, brother. Thank you for jumping on with us this morning. And hopefully this isn't the last time we get to see you on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
I can tell you it won't be. So definitely looking forward to the next time, whenever it is. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, brother.